What's up, you guys? My name is Mitko Karshovski, and welcome to another episode of That Remote Life, where we help you quit the cubicle and live life on your terms. Today, as you guys can see, I'm joined by my beautiful fiance, Sarah.
Still make you nervous, man, huh?
I know, doesn't stop. But yeah, you haven't been on the show since I think the last time you were on was back in March when we had just come back from Iceland.
Yeah, we had our quarantine episode, work from home as a couple episode.
Yeah, that's right. Instead, today we're going to do a kind of a fun episode that was inspired by my friend Travis over at Extra Pack of Peanuts. They recently released a podcast episode where they talked about their favorite, or I should say the 16 best places to live for 3 years. And so we were inspired by that, and we're going to do our own version of that, which is going to be the top 4 locations where we could see ourselves establishing a home base for 3 years. So I'm going to do my 4, and Sarah's going to do her 4. We haven't seen each other's lists, so she doesn't know what I'm going to talk about, and I don't know what she's going to talk about.
We've talked about this in passing before. We've talked about places that we'd like to live, but we've never officially come up with a list of them. So I'm excited to see. And we talked about maybe 1 or 2, but now we're kind of getting into the roots and talking about 4 of them. So we've been thinking about this all day, and the suspense is building up, and I'm really excited to see what Mitko picked.
Yeah, I bet that we have some overlap, but I'm interested to see kind of like where the other ones go. The one rule that we did set aside was that we cannot use Varna as one of them because we already kind of have a home base there.
Yeah.
Or Cincinnati. We already have home bases there. So this is sort of like new places where we would live for 3 years.
Because we would both choose Varna right off the bat because that's already a home base. So,
all right. Well, let's get into it without any further ado.
Pull out my list.
All right. So Sarah, why don't you start us off with your number 4?
My number 4 is somewhere that I've always talked to you about loving a lot, but as a country, not as a city.
Oh, you went for a country, not a city?
No, it was a city. I picked out a city, but I've talked about loving the idea of the city or of the country. But this one has a little bit of stipulation to it in that it would be when we are older probably, and
there's a lot of buildup.
Oh, yeah, just wait. When we're older, and hopefully we could farm when we're older.
What is going on? What is this place?
That is the build up to the place.
What is this place?
Okay. Anyways, so my 4th place, the number 4 place that I would live for 3 or more years is outside of Galway, Ireland. You know that I am in love with Ireland. Not iffy, but we weren't huge fans of Dublin because it was just, to me, it was kind of just another city, and it had its charm and I love it, but I love Ireland. I've been, I think 3 or 4 times in the past few years, and the countryside and just breathing easy, and I would just love to go have a little farm. I think that would just be so relaxing. I
have to be honest, when you started talking about this, I was like, it's going to be Ireland. And then you threw farming in, and I'm like, what the hell is this place? That's like, well, I don't remember at any point talking about farming.
To be fair, I thought of the farming concept of all of this today. So it hasn't been like a lifelong dream to farm. But I think it would just be, maybe not a farm, but just like a big plot of land.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not talking about having because I know farms are a lot of work. So I'm talking about some plants and...
I like the idea of Ireland. My biggest issue with Ireland is the weather. I'm very Sarah loves rainy, cloudy weather, and if I'm fine with it, but if it I can't do a lot of it. I need sun. If I'm in a couple of months of that cloudy, rainy weather, my energy just plummets immediately. So
I just love it. I could do the rain every day. I love it, and I don't know. So I think that's actually one of the things that draws me to Ireland is the rain and
it's moody.
It's so moody, and I can listen to my moody music and stare out the window at the rain and watch the droplets fall, and it's great. I love it. So that's my number 4.
All right. My number 4 is Sofia, Bulgaria.
You cheater.
No, we said no Varna.
You
I said Sofia.
cheater. Oh my God.
Okay, so here's why, and I actually thought about this pretty long and hard about if I would include it. I think even if we were playing with Varna, I wouldn't have chosen Varna. Here's why. Because I think, we didn't really discuss this as a rule, but the way that I was thinking about it was like, I need to be able to live here for at least 6 months or more. Now, that doesn't mean that you wouldn't be able to like travel around from there, but I could like feel like it was a place that I thought I could spend at least 6 months there. And for me, Varna, like I love Varna, but I can't see myself being in Varna outside of the summer. But Sofia, I could see myself doing that.
Okay.
Because it's a bigger city. There's a much bigger entrepreneurial community there that I really do feel like, there's like lots of people doing interesting things. It's also very close to the mountains. So, I mean, it's like an hour and a half drive to like Bansko, for example. So you could go, I don't know how to ski or snowboard, but I've always loved the idea of maybe learning it. So I would totally do that. It's also a really fun city. There's lots of stuff to do. It is an up and coming digital nomad location. So I think a lot of people would be swinging through.
Sure. And there's so many bars and restaurants and cheap food. It's a little bit more expensive than Varna, but we're talking like $1 more expensive. Yeah, it's nothing. It's maybe 5-10% more than expensive, but it's not bad.
And even with the affordability, like I haven't actually tested this, but I have a feeling like you could maybe argue that Varna becomes more expensive during a few months during the summer because it is a touristy place where like the price could spike.
Absolutely.
And then finally, the last reason why some Bulgarian city needed to be on here, and I think that Sofia is the one that fits into this the most, is because I personally do want to like rebuild a Bulgarian network and to like meet more Bulgarian entrepreneurs and actually like have more relationships and know more people in Bulgaria. And so I could totally see myself spending 3 years in Sofia kind of fostering that.
You would love that.
So yeah, that's why Sofia is number 4 for me.
Great.
Cool. What's your number 3?
I'm ready to shock you with my number 3.
Okay, well, you already shocked me with the farm in Ireland, so.
Okay, so it is in the United States.
Okay.
Which I don't think you saw coming.
Uh-huh.
And I've technically lived there before, but for a summer, so.
Oh, I know where this is going.
I would love to live in Asheville, North Carolina. I lived there when was that? It's 2014, the summer of 2014. Interning with a minor league baseball team, the Asheville Tourists, and you just cannot beat getting then at that time I was working in an office. You cannot beat getting off of work and driving 7 minutes to the Blue Ridge Parkway, and I would do that almost every day after work, and I wouldn't even go anywhere half the time, but I would just go on it and drive this gorgeous highway, whatever it is, road, and that was great. The food and beer scene is great. It's close to family, relatively. It was only 6 hours from Cincinnati, so it's an easy drive. A little bit further to Michigan, where my family is. Close to family, so still, with family, friends, and everything. That's really nice. And I just felt a huge sense of community there. I feel like everybody, like, I don't know. I feel like it was a very community-driven city, and I just loved it.
It's a very quirky, like the city itself is very quirky, but it's because the population is very quirky.
Yes,
and I mean that positively. I mean that's a good thing.
It's all, you never know what to expect. So you have this weird mix of like Southern charm and like quirky,
like hipster,
like people that just don't care and want to be themselves and like don't. It's just it's a really fun place. So
I love Asheville. But here's the part where I'm going to challenge you on this. You really think that you could be there for like multiple years without like losing your mind?
In my restlessness or in my what?
The reason why I bring that up is because it's kind of a smaller city. Like there's not that much going on there.
I like that though.
Yeah?
Yeah. I did love it there, and I think even if it's a small city, there's so much other stuff to do, like the mountains and camping and whitewater rafting and hiking and just there's so much stuff to do. Like it feels bigger because you have these giant mountains that are like making you feel.
Well, the other issue with it is that what is the largest airport? Because, okay, we're going to live there for like 6+ months, but I know you and you're going to be like, okay, let's go travel somewhere. What is like, there's not really a large airport.
It was Charleston was like an hour or two away. And then Columbia that we were just talking to Jen about the other day, I think that was technically the closest. I might be wrong, but that's what, I had a friend, Wiggy, she would fly out of Columbia. So, like, I know. But, like, if you think about it, we already drive 5 hours to go to Chicago to fly out. We don't fly out of Cincinnati. Atlanta's probably, like,
Atlanta would be
close.
Atlanta would be the biggest close airport, wouldn't it be?
So, I mean,
or the closest big airport,
yeah.
I should
So,
say.
right now, we're living in Cincinnati. We don't have,
we rarely fly out of CVG.
Ever. Like, we always go somewhere, and, like, I'm fine with spending a few extra hours in the car for a good deal.
That's true. That's a good point.
Okay.
My number 3, and this is kind of you'll see what I mean, is Porto.
Okay.
Or maybe Lisbon, because we haven't been to Lisbon.
Yeah.
But I will explain why I'm saying maybe Lisbon.
I'm interested in this because you weren't before you say your piece. You weren't. Porto did not give you the fizz right away.
That's right.
So I'm interested to. I agree with you. I love it
Right.
there, but I'm curious to hear your.
So I talk about, if you guys haven't heard this before, I talk about this thing that I call the fizz, which is like this feeling that I can't explain, but there's certain cities that I get to and I'm like, fuck yeah. Like, I want to be here. I love this. There's like an energy that just kind of makes me excited.
It's like a tingling, exciting, those cities that you go to and you're just like,
right. And it just,
you don't get sick of the views and
Right. So Porto didn't do that for me right away. However, I do think that it has a nice quality of life. Like, it's a nice place to be.
For sure.
Beautiful architecture, great food, really, really nice people. It's also extremely safe. We were told I think Portugal is the safest country in the world.
One of them. I think it was like top 10 or something.
Yeah, by like, I don't know how you rate that.
Yeah.
But so that's awesome. But the other two things, the one thing that's making me say, and we haven't been to Lisbon, but if everything that I hear is true, it's very similar to Porto, except slightly bigger, and the weather is better, which is appealing to me because of what we talked about, because Porto can get very rainy and cloudy. And also, Lisbon has a larger entrepreneurial scene than Porto does. I think Porto does have kind of like a startup scene, but I do know that Lisbon's is quite a bit bigger. And they're both up-and-coming digital nomad locations, so we know there will constantly be people coming through that, we can hang out with and whatnot. The other thing as well is that it's an easy flight to the U.S., and the time zone difference is very nice.
Huge.
So I think
it's crazy. Sorry to interrupt you, but it's crazy going from Bulgaria, which is typically a 7-hour time difference, to Porto, which is like a 4 or 5, depending on what time of the year it is. And you wouldn't think that 2 hours would make a difference with work. Oh my gosh, it's a whole different experience. It was a whole different experience for me, and like we make it work with that, and we don't necessarily need to be on during 9 to 5 hours, but it's just that 2-hour time difference between Bulgaria and Porto was like, you could just, I don't know, it was awesome.
And to me, that actually has pros and cons, because there are benefits to being just 5 hours in terms of time difference. But I actually also really like the 7-hour difference, because that gives me more time in the beginning of the day for no one to bother me. And then I only have like 2 hours of overlap where whatever needs to be communicated is communicated without being this like over reliance on like communication, if that makes sense. Like just constant pinging, it gives me a good amount of time to get my stuff done in quiet, like kind of focus, and then tune into like the US time zones and communicate. So pros and cons on that, but I do think that flight, direct flights from Porto or Lisbon to the East Coast of the US, abundant and cheap and easy,
quick. Yep.
I think it's actually a shorter flight from Portugal to like New York than it is from New York to California.
Oh, for sure. And TAP, now the relatively new airline,
I think it's
no, they're
older,
not. I'm sorry,
but
they're not new, but they just got privatized or something. I don't know.
I think they redid like all
Yeah.
of their planes. Like they went through like
But
really big updates.
Yeah, and they came out. I think I was thinking they were new because they just came out with a bunch of cheaper options lately. The flights have just become relatively cheaper.
So it's super easy.
Yeah.
All right, so your number 2.
I'm such a flip flop with these last two, but I am going to say, drum roll, please.
Drum roll. I don't want to do a drum roll because, yeah.
Valencia.
Yeah. Interesting.
I know.
You're going for the small towns here.
I am. But there's a reason behind this. And I know you are obsessed with Barcelona, and it may or may not be one of your next two. I'm pretty sure it will be. I love Barcelona as well. And I love Madrid was like beautiful and whatever. I liked it. And Valencia for me is the smaller, quieter, but still big city with access to bigger cities place. It's close to I was an au pair in Spain for a summer in 2016 for a family in Alicante, which is just 45 minutes south of Valencia. So they'd be super close. So I'd have family there, which is really, really nice. I just love the Spanish lifestyle, man. I can speak the language now better, and I love it so much. And so that is my reasoning for that. You have easy flights to the islands like Ibiza and all that. And
Ibiza.
Don't do that to me.
Ibiza.
Whatever.
I can never say it.
If you're gonna say that, then you have to say Valencia.
Valencia.
So it's just we've gone to Spain. I mean, close to every year since.
It might have been one of the countries
traveling.
that we've been to the most, actually.
For sure. Other than Bulgaria,
yeah.
for sure. So, I just love it. I love it. So.
Again, I also really like Valencia, but I personally would run into the same issue that I think I would run into with Asheville, which is like 3 years in a town that size. But you know what, though? Valencia does have the beach.
But here's the thing. Yes. But here's the other thing. Cincinnati's not that big. Varna's not that big. These cities that we love because we have our places and whatever. I personally don't need I'm not a huge city gal. I don't want like Barcelona would be overwhelming for me to live in for a long time, and I would, but I like a smaller city. That's why I love Cincinnati. It's a small, big city.
I think, yeah, I agree with you. And that's why I said, because I feel like having beach access makes any city almost feel bigger.
That's what I was saying about the mountains in Asheville. That's the same thing I was going for.
Yeah, but I feel like the mountains kind of, I don't know. Maybe I haven't lived in a place close to mountains enough to have the same feeling.
Well, now we will, because it's on my list.
But pretty low on your list. So,
top 4 of my life. Are you
kidding? But yeah, I think I like Valencia as well. But my only worry would be that it could be on the smaller side. But it is a beautiful city. What is the population? Do you know what the population of Valencia is?
No idea.
Because I do wonder how that compares to Varna. Because Varna is the 3rd biggest city in Bulgaria, but it's still 500,000 people. So it's not that small.
Yeah, but that was a very strategic, it's kind of the same thing with Ireland, where I'm choosing the country in my head and then strategically picking the city, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So I can't say Ireland, I can't say Spain. So and we've been to Valencia. I've been there a few times now, and it's just my place. I like it.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with Spain. I love Spain. I feel good in Spain. I don't know the language as well as you do, but it is a language that I could see myself learning. I have studied some Spanish, so I'm not totally helpless. And my number 2 is Barcelona.
I knew it.
I love Barcelona. It's one of those places that I went to and I said, I got the fizz. The city gives me the fizz.
Yep.
I like Barcelona. To me, one of the reasons why it's so amazing is because it's 6 cities in one. Mm-hmm. And I've described it that way before. You have this amazing beachy kind of area. Mm-hmm. You have this medieval part of
Gothic,
town, which
yep.
is like, the Gothic quarter, which is like medieval. You feel like you're walking through like, Rome. Then you have this other part of town that looks like the Champs-Elysees in Paris. And then you have this other side of town that feels much more like, to me, like over the Rhine in Cincinnati. And so it's this like, and it's in all of those different parts, which could be totally their own cities, are all just a few minutes by subway.
And we talked about that every time we'd get off the subway on our first time there. That was 2016. Because we went from the city that I was au pairing in, we went from Alicante, and that was our first, or I guess technically our second European city that we had gone to together. So it's kind of like this special like place for us. And like you talked about, every single time you got off of the subway, we walk up and be like, where are we? Like,
yeah,
we're not in Kansas anymore. Where are we?
It's like a different city.
So it's super cool.
It's an awesome lifestyle. Like, again, the Spanish lifestyle is like, I mean, that's why people talk about it so much.
Yes.
The food is fantastic. The weather in Barcelona, I think, is I think Barcelona is in one of those magical places where it's like the weather's perfect. Like, it gets a little bit cooler in the winter, but not like cold. You do have a beach. You have a large international airport, so you can go wherever you want to from there. You could easily fly back to the U.S. direct. You can fly to any of the islands like you talked about. It's also a large entrepreneurial hub for Europe, period. And it is a big digital nomad city. So again, you're going to have lots of people coming through. You don't need to leave to go find, friends. They're going to, a lot of them will likely be coming through Barcelona. So to me,
and you have Bocadillos.
And you've got Bocadillos, which
what
are
else do you need?
Epic. Yeah.
Nothing
So
else.
I mean, I think we should just move to Barcelona.
Okay, I'm there.
And
I said I want Spain. I'm not married to.
Don't
the
tap
city.
on the table.
Sorry, I'm not married to the city. So whatever,
And the nice thing about Barcelona too is that whole side of Spain, I'm sure the other one is as well, but just from our personal experience, the whole side of Spain is tied by a phenomenal rail network. So you want to go to Valencia?
Yep.
Yeah, so you want to go to Valencia for 2 weeks? Let's jump on the train, and in
Yep.
2.5 hours you're there. But it has all the benefits of being in the bigger city. So for me, like, and I think that this is one of those. This is the first city. It's kind of like the only city on my list that has a really big international airport that really does tie you to everywhere in the world. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's a great place. Since the first day that we went to Barcelona, I was like, I can live here.
Yeah.
So,
I'm laughing because I have a prediction what's going to happen for our number one.
yeah, I have a prediction what our number one is too. So go ahead. Why don't you go ahead and say what your number one is?
Say what we're both thinking.
You want to count it? We can do a count off. We can do 3, 2, 1, then we'll say what it is.
I had a funny intro for mine.
Okay, go ahead. You do the funny intro.
No. Okay, we'll count down to 3.
All right, ready? 3, 2, 1. Budapest.
Oh, Budapest.
Oh, is that? Okay, nice. So I guess we can both talk about why Budapest is our top.
I mean, we've been talking about this for years. We went there our first trip. So not the first trip we did after my au pair
experience
summer.
Right.
But the next year after that was our first digital nomad big journey when I was making like $300 a month. And I told my parents I was moving to Bulgaria. And that was just kind of our first, like, I don't know, we took off out of the nest and went to Bulgaria. And Budapest was our first trip.
It was actually our first. So we went to Bulgaria.
Yeah.
And
for the summer. We went there for 4 months.
And we had been in Bulgaria for about a month, I think. And it was our first trip that we took outside
and
of
I got
Bulgaria.
so excited because we were obviously on a very tight budget. And at the time, I booked, I am the travel planner of the relationship, proudly. And I booked both of our flights, and accommodation, and one other thing. I don't know. I think maybe it was just flights and accommodation for a week, and it was $300 total. So for 2 round trip flights from Bulgaria and a week's worth of accommodation for the both of us, it was $300 total. And I was like, yeah, that was my first glimpse at like cheapo European travel. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like,
I think that's one of the, I mean, Budapest I have a long list of things that I think Budapest is going for it.
You can only imagine.
But I think one of the really great things about Budapest is that it's a really beautiful, like proper old European capital. I mean, it looks like Paris in my opinion. That is at a fraction of the cost. So it's still super affordable. People will say that it's Eastern Europe. I think that it's on that edge of like Central Europe and Eastern Europe, but you still have, it's still affordable, but it's Budapest. Like, you know, it's this beautiful, you know, like it is like a Paris at a fraction of the cost.
And this is a place that we have gone back almost every year to, still, even for 24 hours one time.
Yep, that's right.
And
we had to squeeze that in there.
And so we've gone back almost every year, and I think we've just fallen more and more in love with it. And the first time, I think it was the first time we were there, we were sitting on the river drinking a beer that we could probably barely afford at the time.
No, it's Budapest. We could have afforded it. It's not that expensive.
It was a fancy beer.
Oh, what? Oh,
at the fancy place on the river.
What was that place called?
I don't know. I think Travis recommended it, didn't he?
Oh, you're talking about the beer bros or brew.
Yeah.
It
wasn't that expensive, but we were also on a very, very small budget. Right. So we were sitting there and we said, in 2 years or upcoming at some point, we want to come here for the entire month of October, because it sounds like a perfect, beautiful fall month. The weather's calm and good. And we made that our mission. And last October we did that. We spent a month in Budapest after a little Airbnb drama when we first got there, and we did it, and that really sealed the deal for me, because I think in the summer you're everything's more magical in the summer to an extent. You know, it's like beautiful weather and everything's better, and I'm a big fall gal, and we got there and I was like, the crisp air and the leaves changing across the river, and it was just absolutely magical. I do think they had a little bit of an Indian summer in Budapest last year, because it was even through the end of October. Yeah, it was. I mean, the seasons were definitely changing, but it was still like very like warm. Really warm. I think it gets cooler more. It gets cooler earlier in the year there, but yeah, I mean, I think in terms of like phenomenal weather. You know, it's not like really a place that I'd love to be in the winter, but okay, like you got to jump, you know, to like Malta for 4 months in the winter, or Greece or something like that. Committed to 3 years. Well, that's what I was saying is at 6 months at least there. I could definitely spend 6 months. Oh, you said 3 years. I thought we were No. 3 years. 3 years as a home base, but like you can bounce out of there. Okay, perfect. So, but I was going to say, even without leaving Budapest in the winter, I do think that it's probably one of those cities where, you know, it's still freaking beautiful in the winter, and you know, it's probably super cozy and but I think some of the other benefits for Budapest, I think it's close to lots of other places. So you want to use it as a home base in Europe to travel around to the rest of Europe, like as central as you can get. Yeah, it's like everything's maximum 2 hours away, you know. So I think we flew 2.5 hours to Porto, didn't we? So no. We flew from Madrid to Budapest, and it was 2.5 hours. Okay, so Madrid. Okay, so maybe 3 to Porto. So, you know, the furthest reaches of Europe, it's 3 hours. But anywhere within that it's super easy. It's affordable, like we've talked about, and it's this medium level of affordability. Like I mentioned in another video, which I'll link up. You know, it's like, it's not the super, super cheap Albania, Serbia, Bulgaria's. It's sort of this in the middle where you can still get a lot of your comforts from, you know, if you're from the US or from like England, you know, you can still get a lot of those comforts, but it's very affordable. We've been looking at and I mean, this is why I'm not surprised that it's our first. We're constantly looking at apartments for rent there. You can get beautiful 2-bedroom apartments for like $1,000 a month. Yeah. I actually found one for $1,200 overlooking the river with a view of the main bridge there. So like beautiful places in the best areas for like, you know, $1,200. Like that's super affordable. And we just found out this past time that we went that they have very fun activities outside of the city. Yeah, we went. Sarah surprised me. Okay, you don't take over here. I was watching Schitt's Creek I think it was season 5, the beginning of season 5.
Very specific.
It is.
Very important.
It is an important detail. And it was like 8 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday. Mitko was not awake yet. He was still in bed, and I enjoy my like weekend mornings alone. So I get up and I like go to the couch and I start watching Schitt's Creek, and they're on like a high ropes course like you do in like middle school, like I don't know, like team building activities, whatever. They're on a ropes course, and I was like, oh my God, I need to do that today. I need to start looking right now. So I started looking online for ropes courses in Budapest, thinking like, yeah, right, I don't think I'm going to find anything. And I found one, and I woke Mitko up, and I didn't tell him what we were doing. And I said, get out of bed. We're going on an adventure. Put on athletic clothes. And he's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And we got there, and it was like a maybe 30-40 minute train ride, like
it was super close
on
to
the
Budapest.
like rails, like the
train.
tram, whatever. So it wasn't like anything super far away. It was like $15 for unlimited time on their zip lines. It was so fun. It was so fun.
It was a lot of fun, and that's the benefit with Budapest. Again, is it's a capital city in Europe where you're gonna have probably like whatever you're looking for, you'll find it. You know, the airport isn't the biggest, but it's really nice. They don't have a ton of direct flights to the U.S., but they're still there. Not as many as like a Barcelona would have. But also the other thing is like Barcelona, Hungary doesn't have a lot of other cities. It mostly has like smaller towns, and kind of Budapest is like the one large city. But how many hours away is, I believe it's Lake Balaton? Isn't it Lake Balaton?
Oh, yeah.
The lake
like
there?
Yeah.
So, you know, that is super, a very popular, Lake Balaton. And it's, you know, like they're very popular, like summer destination to go. So yes, there's no beach, but there's constant trains that are very affordable to get you to Lake Balaton, where you can go and, you know, like relax on the beach on a large lake.
For sure. But I'm curious to hear about, you're not a fan of the food. You don't hate it, but you're not very pumped about it.
So Hungarian food is that central Northern European food, which is kind of heavy.
Potatoes,
like, lots
pasta,
of potatoes,
meat,
bread, you know.
Bread. Yeah.
So I do like the Mediterranean diet more, like what you would find in Bulgaria or in Spain. But that being said, because Budapest is a large city, there's lots of
There's so
options.
much. That's true. We get this place every single time we go. There's these hummus bars. Like it's not called hummus bar because apparently it's not very good.
No, the hummus bar is the chain, which everybody loves, but I think Olive Tree is like so much better.
There's just so many. There's like fast Chinese food. There's pizza. There's just everything. So that is true. There's a lot of, it's kind of something that we do every time we go. We still go for at least one night of like good, like chicken paprikash, which is, I love, but it is really heavy and it makes you feel very full. But
yeah, so it's like, I mean, it is a bigger city.
Now.
It is a bigger city. So if you want something, you can find it there. For sure. But it's a bigger, small city. So it's not like a giant city, like Barcelona is way bigger than Budapest. Budapest has everything that you would expect and want out of a bigger city, but in a much smaller size. It also has a big entrepreneurial community, a big startup community, and it is a very popular digital nomad place. So again, a lot of our friends will be passing through. So, you know, like they're already going to be going there, so we might as well just hang out there and see them. So
for sure.
I mean, that's why I think it's both of our number ones.
We've been talking about it forever. Now we just have, let's see, 4 places each at 3 years per place. That's 24 years of our lives planned out.
Your math is incorrect, 21, because one of them is the same.
Oh, damn.
So,
means
2 of them are the same because Barcelona and Valencia.
No, that just means we have to spend 6 years in
6 years there?
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, that's it. Those are our top 4. So, again, your number 4 was...
Don't quiz me.
Galway. Just outside of Galway. Mine was Sofia. Your number 3 was...
Asheville.
Mine was Porto. Maybe Lisbon. Your
Valencia.
Number 2. My number 2 is Barcelona. And then both of our number 1s was Budapest. That's right.
Budapest.
Budapest. All right, you guys, that's it from us. Hope you are doing well. And yeah, make sure you hit subscribe. And then also head on over to the website. We have a new website that I've been working day and night to complete. I think it looks really, really sharp. And make sure that you subscribe for Nomad Weekly. It's our new high quality weekly newsletter, kind of like the hustle to make sure that you stay informed and that you never miss anything going on in our community. So in our community, meaning the digital nomad community. So yeah, make sure you subscribe for that. I'm really excited to launch it. And yeah, do you have anything to say in closing? No?
Spot, man.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.
What's up, you guys? My name is Mitko.
I'm sorry. I jumped away. I'm sorry. Okay. Start over. Okay.
Yeah, and don't.
I know. I got nervous. Oh, shit. Okay. I'm fine.
You ready?
Yeah.